Hello everyone, welcome to No Frontiers. My name is Luca and today we're doing the instant reaction to episode 3 of Netflix's live action One Piece series. It's going to be a pretty short series. There's only 8 episodes total, but right now we're going to get right into it because there's a lot that happened. For our very first scene, it's a flashback to Syrup Village where Usopp is a young boy and he's warning the entire town about pirates. Essentially, he's lying, and actually Usopp, or Uso, means to lie in Japanese, so that's where his name actually comes from. Now, he's kind of the Japanese version of the boy who cries wolf. I mean, of course, in the live action, he's not played by a Japanese character, but still, that character, Usopp, is the boy who cried wolf, except in this case, he's the boy and then becomes the man who cried pirate, which is kind of funny because Usopp is known for his crying in One Piece, so he's actually, well, he becomes the pirate who cries constantly. Then we have a fun little scene back on the tiny, terrible little pirate ship where you've got Zoro and Nami and Luffy, of course, and he's actually designed his own Jolly Roger. And what I really love about that is how that Jolly Roger that he designed and he painted, I don't know how he did it, but it's exactly the same as in the anime. So then we switch over to Garp's ship once again, which we've seen before. It's such a badass marine ship that the Vice Admiral has. I guess people of his level, they just get these really, really cool ships. And the marine crew that he actually has on that ship looks really, really good. Now that I pay attention in closer details to the Marines, it really looks like the original One Piece Marines. And then at this time also, we've got, of course, Koby, and then Helmeppo with his terrible Zoro haircut. And you see the first kind of interactions between Koby and Helmeppo. And of course, Koby is correcting Helmeppo's knot tying style. And then Helmeppo basically shows his true colors and tries to throw Koby under the bus. But of course, Garp doesn't have any of it because Koby already has pirate or sailing experience when he was basically a servant on the pirate Alvida's ship. So that was really nice to see kind of Garp have Koby's back, and Helmeppo is starting to realize that, you know, the nepotism that he experienced in the past is not going to fly under Garp. Garp said exactly as much. Seeing both Koby and Helmeppo on Garp's ship, part of his mission, it's a little bit unusual, is way earlier than in the anime. But I can understand why they have to expedite the story. In this case, it's very useful because it really just helps to put Helmeppo in his place. But it also really shows the development and speeds up the development of Koby as well, as someone who just wants to do what he believes is right. And Garp is exactly the same, so that's why I think Garp starts to take him under his wing. Then switching over to Syrup Village, where Luffy, Nami, and Zoro have arrived, it's really nice to get this very quick scene where Zoro and Luffy are staring at these wanted posters. And you can see the different amounts that different pirates have. The whole concept of a wanted poster, the bounties, it's a bragging right among pirates. This is a very, very core idea in One Piece, and there's a lot of competition that goes around how you can elevate your bounty. So seeing them start off in only episode 3, staring at these wanted posters and what pirates are actually worth is, I think, very good decision. So in the original anime and manga, in the story of One Piece, while the crew is still in East Blue, that whole area, that part of the story, has a dark shadow hanging over it, and that shadow is the Arlong Pirates. So I like how the live action has basically introduced them really, really early on in the story. We get to see a fisherman for the first time, and then of course we find out that he's a part of Arlong's crew. And Arlong is so feared by everyone that even when this pirate who shows up at Buggy's tent, in Buggy's establishment, and he says Arlong wants a word, you can see Buggy turn away from him and just the fear that's in his eyes. Plus, of course, Buggy is stubborn, he turns around, tries to fight, and gets his butt kicked in one hit, which probably wouldn't have happened in the original story. They're not all as strong as, for example, Arlong, and Buggy's quite strong in his own right, but it really just shows how strong the fishermen actually are and how feared they are. So switching back to Zoro, Nami, and Luffy, they're looking for a ship. Nami says, let's steal one. But Luffy says, a ship is not just a ship, it's a part of the crew. Eventually he'll say, it's actually a home. I don't know how this idea came about. It's not like that in the original story. Luffy learns about the importance of his ship once he actually has his first ship, but at this point he's never had a ship before, so I don't know why suddenly it's this big emotional thing. Even though his experience with Shanks, for example, he was never allowed to actually join Shanks on any of his adventures. So this whole concept about a ship being on this pinnacle, I'm really not sure where that came from. I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't think that was really necessary to establish right now, honestly. And then he says, I just have to find the right one. So it sounds like finding that dream ship is so difficult. And then like 1 minute later, he's like, this is the one. And he just sees a ship that kind of looks cool. So that I feel was a bit unnecessary. So next up, the three of them meet Usopp for the first time, and what I really love is right away Usopp is lying. He's really embellishing and the importance of his position, and then Zoro just calls him out immediately and says, yeah, basically he's scrubbing barnacles and cleaning up bird shit, which I thought was fantastic. Then there was a scene between Garp and Kobe, very short, that was nice, but had a really terrible transition to Luffy's hat. I don't know if you caught that. So next up, now I was very nervous about this, but we get our introduction to both Kaya and Klahadore. Kaya looks fantastic, she is perfect, and she looks, I'm not sure how they did it with the makeup, but she just looks so sickly, the acting is totally on point. I was really, really happy and satisfied with what they did there, and Klahadore too, oh my god. I just want to take a quick moment to discuss the mansion where Kaya lives. The design there and the time and effort put into that is fantastic. Also, I love her changing room where Nami and Luffy and Zoro are just hanging out a little bit. That is an incredible little spot. There's this weird scene though where Nami is asking for Luffy's opinion about an outfit and Luffy says, I don't know, you look like Nami to me. And that's very classic Luffy. Luffy doesn't see women in the way a guy typically would. Luffy's just Luffy. He judges people based on, are they friendly, does he like them? Even when he first met Kobe, when Luffy first met Kobe on Alvida's ship, he actually says to Kobe, I hate you. Like, I don't like you. And the reason is because Kobe was being such a wuss. At that time, he was so afraid of Alvida, he didn't want to escape. That's how Luffy is. He just judges people based on their character, and he tells them what he thinks. So him saying that to Nami, I think was really, really perfect, but I didn't like the fact that Nami looked like she was very disappointed when he said, oh, you're just Nami. I mean, obviously she wanted him to say that she looks beautiful, but Nami is not really like that as a character. Nami, when she puts something on, if she changes her outfit, Nami, she doesn't need a guy to tell her that. She knows she looks good. She probably appreciates it, but she wouldn't be disappointed, especially not by Luffy. Not at all. Then we got Klahadore, who's fantastic, and he's got this great combination of being mysterious and creepy, but also really bossy at the same time. That was done perfectly. So as the story progresses, we get this moment where there's a great contrast in personalities. On one hand, you have Garp and Kobe who are playing a war game. They're talking about strategy and they're talking about just reacting impulsively, and that's how you combat pirates. And then we switch over to pirates, well, Luffy and Usopp, and they're just gorging out on food and they don't even care at all about strategy or anything. They're just living in the moment. I thought that was a really, really great contrast of the different personalities of the characters involved. How did I almost forget? And Usopp, another Usopp story already. He's packing them in now. But Usopp talking about how he slayed a dragon, he cooked it on an open fire and ate it. And Luffy being like, wow. And then asking the staff, do you have any dragon? And she's like, no, we're fresh out. That was great. Right after that moment, we also have Mary's introduction. I don't know. He looked okay. He looked okay. But good to see the character. Good to see the character. The actor seems pretty good. Ah, yes. And then the dining scene. Luffy getting up on the table, walking there, approaching Kaya. That was also a really nice moment to showcase Luffy's personality even more. It's really important to establish that with Luffy, he doesn't care about social status, he doesn't care about class, he literally just cares about people and their personality. If he thinks someone is good, he will see the good in that person and latch onto that. Even if that person commits bad acts, he will still trust them and fight to bring the good out of that person. So when he meets Kaya, he thinks she's a great person, so he doesn't even think about standing on the table as being rude. He just wants to go and talk to her, person to person, when he asks to obviously get a ship from her. So that was a really great establishment of Luffy's character. So many things are happening in this episode, because next up we have Mary in the basement, and then we get a showdown between butlers. Well, not really a showdown, it's more like a massacre, because you've got Mary on one hand, who's very timid, and then you've got the scheming Kuro, who's obviously got some kind of insidious plan. And he sneaks up on Mary, and Mary says, oh, you startled me, or something like that. And then Kuro says, I'm very light on my feet, which is a bit of a foreshadowing. Well, not much of a foreshadowing, because quickly you find out that he is light on his feet, and he's got some kind of super speed and these claws. And unfortunately, that's the end of Mary. No! Next up, we got a very short scene between Buggy and Arlong. And many of us have seen photos, video of Arlong before in short snippets. I thought he was going to look much worse. Arlong is okay. He still needs to be bigger. He needs to be more broad-shouldered. It looks like he's wearing these ridiculously large boots. But in general, the style of Arlong, his nose is a little bit different, not long enough, but in general, it's actually really, really good. So I liked the voice acting for Arlong. I like the presence. All of that's great. It's just physically imposing. That's the only little bit of an issue I have. It's the same issue I had with Morgan Axehand. Some of these characters, I don't know. We don't need great actors for some of these roles, especially when they're just like mean and have a deep voice. Just get a bodybuilder. Just get a bodybuilder and they'll look freaky. And then close to the end of this episode, we've got another great showcase of personality. We got Luffy sneaking around the halls at night. We got Zoro sneaking around the halls at night. We got Nami sneaking around the halls at night. And we got Usopp. Well, not sneaking around, but up at night. And so this is obviously meant to show really the main parts of their personality. Luffy, always hungry. He's looking for a midnight snack. Zoro, also apart from sleeping and being extremely strong, he loves to drink. But what's really nice is there's also another thing that we haven't learned about Zoro yet, but we get a hint in this, and that is his sense of direction. He just says, this place is a maze. I mean, they're in like a mansion. How much of a maze can it be? But that was a nice foreshadowing for some of the stuff that Zoro does. And then of course you got Nami going around stealing stuff. She has a nice conversation with Kaya, who shows how sweet and kind and pure she is, not the average rich person that Nami always hated. It's really kind of changed Nami's mind about her. That was great. And then Usopp is kind of previewing some of his sharp shooting skills. Believe it or not, my biggest issue in this entire episode was when Zoro got conked on the back of the head and one hit knocked out by one of these cat pirates. I love how they hiss, like, that was great. That actually makes me think about cat pirates. But Zoro getting taken out like that? No way. Sorry. No. Never. Never happening. No. I refuse to accept it. And then the last scene of this episode was great. We came full circle. You've got Usopp running through the town, and the boy who cried wolf, or the man who cried pirate, as expected, no one believes him. Except for Koby, who randomly shows up. How did he sneak up on Usopp? Huh. Anyways, I guess we'll see what happens in the next episode. So I really enjoyed that. I look forward to seeing the next one. I'll get that to you as quickly as possible, but for now, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time, right here on No Frontiers.